Hello there, woven web enthusiasts. Today we have a gentleman whose ex-wife has a short amount of time to live, and she's asked for him to come back into her life to some degree. OP's currently married. His sister and his ex-wife are good friends. He's got himself in quite a situation here. My ex-wife wants me to be with her in her final days. He writes in the Relationship Advice subreddit. I'm a 40-year-old guy, and I met my ex-wife. She's 40 when we were both 10. She was, and still is, my twin sister's best friend, so we've always been kind of a trio growing up. We started dating at 14, and we were married at 23. About 5 years in, things got ugly. She told me she had had a month-long affair with her coworker, and apparently the guilt was too much for her, so she confessed. We tried to work through it, but after a few months of trying, I knew that despite the fact that I loved her, I couldn't trust her anymore. She told me she still loved me and that she'd wait for me and prove that I was the only one. Now, I wanted to believe her, but sometimes some things just can't be fixed. And by the way, we never had any kids. 3 years after the divorce, I met my now wife, who's 38. 2 years of dating, and we got married. She's fantastic, and we have a great relationship. My ex, as my sister told me, they're still besties, never really recovered. She quit her job, and she's been working at a church for years. Throughout my relationship with my wife, my ex-wife kept trying to get back together, and on the day of the wedding, she told me she still loved me and would love no one else. She said that was the last time she would bother me, and she'll wait for me however long it took. Now, apparently she's honest in this regard because my sister says she's never been with anyone else. So, there's the background, and here's what happened recently. My wife and I, we've been married for 7 years. We have 2 kids. My sister came over with her own kids so the cousins could play. My wife goes out to pick up lunch, and my sister set me down and told me the situation about my ex-wife. Apparently, she has 6 months to live. She's refused treatment and wants to live out the last few months to the fullest. I guess that's why her and my sister really went out of their way to travel despite the pandemic. Now here's where things get interesting. My sister told me that one thing on my ex-wife's bucket list was that she wanted to feel like my wife again. Now, this would not include sex, no kissing. She just wanted me to be around the house. She still lives in the same house we lived in, and she wanted me to maybe hold her from time to time. I told her I wouldn't do that because it pretty much would be emotional cheating. Now, my sister, and put yourself in her shoes a minute, her best friend, I'm her brother. My sister kept arguing and begging me to at least see her and hear her out. We kept arguing, no screaming, all 4 kids were in the next room until my wife came back. My sister told her the whole story, and while she looked upset, she said she understood where my ex was coming from. So my sister left, and my wife and I talked about it. Now, my wife knows everything that happened in the past with my ex. She says she isn't thrilled about the idea. She won't get upset if I decided to see her on a regular basis. My wife is solid emotionally, and I feel like we have a great relationship, and she knows that I wouldn't cheat on her. I also have 0 romantic feelings for my ex, so there's nothing lingering there. I don't hate her or anything, it's just that the love died years ago. So after thinking about this for a while, I'm honestly 50-50 about it. I know I don't owe her anything, but I feel like I might regret not seeing her at least one more time since the last time I saw her was at my wedding, and that wasn't a good encounter at all for either of us, unless you count the times I occasionally see her in the store or something. I honestly feel like, despite what she did, she still deserves to go with some peace. On the other hand, I'm not entirely sure if this might potentially affect my marriage. My wife says she's okay with it, and I believe her, but I just can't be sure that she'll feel the same way after it happens. I don't want anything to jeopardize what I have right now, no matter what. I'm not too thrilled about going myself, to be honest. And I just want to add, if I do this, I will not be acting like a husband or anything inappropriate like that. I'm just going to see her and talk for a bit. My sister says, and these are her words, that me just being there and sharing a meal with her would be more than enough for her to feel like we were married again. So that's the situation. Do you have any advice? I'm looking for any input on what I should do. And to start the comments, Kathaw writes, just my opinion, but I wouldn't do it. There's plenty of risk and little possible reward. If you want to show your goodwill towards your ex, run errands for her, or show support in some other way. Have a meal sometime with her, with your wife present. You don't owe your ex-wife anything, so these gestures are more than you are obliged to do. In my opinion, this scheme would be playing with fire with regards to your current marriage. Black 2108 writes, "Do not do this. This has the potential to backfire and ruin your marriage. At the bare minimum, put unneeded strain on it. I know your wife said that she will back whatever decision you choose, but trust me, this will affect her negatively. Your ex-wife will be gone, and you'll be left with this weird tension inside your marriage. Also, you have kids. How are you going to explain your absence to them? I would agree to meet up for coffee and have her get some closure about everything. Afterward, discuss with your wife if continuing to get coffee and talking with her, as a friend, is a comfortable boundary for you both." And Avina Landon writes, "OP, I really feel sad for your ex. The last 12 years must be full of sadness and regret for her. All of that because of one stupid decision, or I would add here, a month's worth of stupid decisions on her part without giving much thought to the consequences that might arise from that decision. That being said, this is her dying wish. So what I'm going to say is going to sound heartless, but please hear me out. Your wife sounds like an angel and very mature, and I'm really happy to hear that she and you guys feel very secure in relationship with each other, that you feel comfortable enough to bring this up with her and for her to grant this. I'd say that a lot of families strive for this kind of relationship. Even though you have no feelings for your ex, this still has the potential of causing some strain in your marriage with repercussions that may go on for a long time. Your ex may not be around, but you'll be around to bear the brunt of that decision. So, I'd strongly urge you to consider all the possibilities and potential consequences of this decision, unlike what your ex did. If you really want, you can certainly consider running errands for her and or meeting her often in open public places like parks during the day. I find it amusing that she's the one who cheated and you are the one that had to move out, and she's the one who ended up keeping the house that you both bought. And now she wants to play house, husband and wife, with you in that same house. She expects you and your wife to be okay with it. I understand that you now have no feelings towards your ex, and I'd say that you are a better person than I for that." Signal Commercial says, "Yeah, meet her for a coffee or have her over to your house with your wife present. You are a team. You and your wife are a team, a family. You are not a prop in someone else's fantasy." LOL Jackie writes, "Your wife sounds like an angel. Please do not do this. Your ex, she just wants to play house with you. She made her choices. Dying sucks. I've watched a few family members go through some painfully slow deaths. However, it didn't mean all of them were good people. You are not responsible for this woman's happiness." And OP provides an update. "It's been almost 3 weeks since I posted, and a lot has happened since. I got some solid advice from a lot of people, and I appreciate that. Here's what's happened. As many of you suggested, I talked to my wife. We had a long discussion about the whole situation, and I assured her that no matter what, she is and always will be my first priority. I also assured her that while I wanted to say goodbye, I would never act like her husband. It would be more like seeing a childhood friend or something like that. I went on to tell my wife I would never spend the night, nor would I be alone with her. So my wife was more comfortable after our talk and was pretty okay with the idea of me seeing my ex again. As you guys guessed, she really felt like she was forced into being okay with it when my sister asked, but this time, she really was okay. So I talked to my sister, and after a long, heated discussion about what my role would be in the visit, she agreed to the boundaries my wife and I set. A week later, my sister and I went over to my old marital home. It was surreal because while the emotions from years back came to me, I didn't feel any sadness, nor hatred, or anything negative. I saw my ex, who was waiting for us in the living room, and she cried when we walked in. Now, most of you suggested she was faking it, but she was still strong, and I could tell almost immediately something was wrong with her. I indulged her with a big hug, and we talked for a few hours while my sister made lunch. I showed her pictures of my kids, told her stories about what they were like, and honestly, I didn't know how I would react after seeing her again, but it just felt like seeing an old friend you haven't seen in a long time. There was no hate or any ill feelings from me. I walked around the house, and it was pretty much the same way it was when I left a decade ago. I'm not really sure how I feel about our wedding photos still framed and pictures of us still over the house, but it wasn't really my place to say anything. So the three of us, my sister and I and my ex-wife, we had lunch and played board games all afternoon, and it honestly felt like we were back to when we were kids and the three of us would hang out together. It was nice. Finally, at about 6 o'clock, I told them I had to go. My ex-wife was sad, but she understood. She walked me out, she gave me a hug, she whispered, "I love you," and she went on to tell me how happy she was that I was able to find the happiness and the life that she couldn't give me. And honestly, that part got me, and I was fighting back tears. I told her I'd see her again soon, and she asked if I could bring my kids the next time, and I told her I would. So when I got home, I told my wife everything. I told her what my ex-wife had said in the door, and that I told her I would bring the kids next time. Overall, it was a great experience seeing her again. I felt like I needed that and would have regretted it if I hadn't done it. And for the comments to OP's update, Honest Bender says, "I don't think I would consider someone a friend if they cheated on me and ruined my marriage." And responding to that, PM Witty Anecdote says, "Time heals all wounds, mate. If you've truly moved on, you're happy, and you're secure in your life, then the hurt dissipates from that. But the lifetime of memories you made with someone who was your best friend at the time, they don't leave." And Airfit writes, "It made me upset that everyone was responding that OP shouldn't do it because there was nothing in it for him. Thanks for doing it anyway, OP. It was a nice thing to do, and you brought a dying woman some happiness." And the final comment, Orange Adept writes, "OP, you should thank your current wife. Flowers, cards, whatever." And Woven Web listeners, what are your thoughts on this one? Let us know in the comments. If you're enjoying the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It certainly helps me out. I appreciate you listening.